Hey, what's happening? Really excited today. I got my brand new shortboard, custom shaped by Denga, which is the local shaper that we use. And what I want to do today is I want to share with you guys my thought process on why I got my board, the design, the shape, and the dimensions that I did, and also what I had in my last board and some of the things that I noticed and how I tried to improve it. So this video is basically for you bigger guys in the 190 to say 210 range, looking for a shortboard and you want a little insight or some tips on things to think about when you plan to get your next shortboard. So before I show you the new board, let me show you the board that I've been surfing for a while now, for probably the last 6 to 8 months. It's been a pretty good board for me. It's a 6'2". I'm 6'1", so it's just about an inch taller than me, inch and a half taller than me. It's 2 3/8 thick, so it's not super thick for a guy of my weight. It's about 19 1/4 wide. We're looking at about 12 1/4 in the nose, 14 1/4, 14 1/4 in the tail. Roughly, the dimensions aren't there anymore. They just tell you the width, length, thickness. So the problems that I was having with this board here in Costa Rica is the volume on this is probably around 29 liters. And if you go online, you can go to these volume calculators, places like Rusty or Channel Islands, Firewire. Almost all the big surfboard manufacturers have a volume calculator where you can input your weight as well as your level of surfing, and then it'll give you a bunch of recommended surfboards. And this surfboard actually falls really low on the advanced volume recommendation for me, probably a liter or two under. Now, I'm a pretty decent paddler, so I've been able to catch lots of waves and this and that, but I'm always a little bit late, and when I do my bottom turn, it has this kind of like sluggish feeling where I feel like I'm almost sinking the board a little bit, especially on smaller waves. So what I want to do is I want to get another board that would be my all-around 70% board here in Costa Rica. Most of the waves we surf are around waist to maybe just a tad over head high. That's about 75% of the time. So it's kind of an all-around smallish medium wave board, but lots of high tide, flat sections, and I was having a hard time getting through a lot of sections. If I kept the board moving, I could keep going. As soon as I stopped pumping or moving the board, I'd start to slow down immediately. I needed something that would get me through. So let me show you the last board that I had. So this board broke in half, but this was my last board, 6.0. This was like a small wave board. And the biggest problem I had with this board as a big guy is I believe it had too much tail rocker. One of the things that I think a lot of shapers are doing now is they're putting a ton of tail rocker. And I have a theory for bigger guys. I think if you're a bigger guy, so if you're a guy that weighs 150 or 60 pounds and you have, say, a certain amount of rocker, you take a guy that's 40, 50 pounds heavier, he's putting more weight on that rocker, which is going to put it more in the water and drag. So I have a theory that bigger guys actually should have a little bit less rocker. And the other thing to think about is when you're bigger, you actually flex the board more, because you have more weight driving into it on the bottom turn or top turn. So you actually create more rocker if it's, say, a polyurethane. On this board, it was supposed to be a small wave board. We're going to show you, but it's got a ton of tail kick here. And it really didn't work so well on small waves. It actually worked better on medium waves barreling as a quad fin. All right, so what I did is I basically gave him my 6'2", and I said, look, I want similar designs, but I want to go thicker. I want to take a little bit of the rocker away from the tail and a little less entry rocker, but still keeping enough rocker in there that I can turn the board and snap it around. Except for this, I went 2 5/8 thick. That's a pretty thick board for performance surfing. If you look at guys like Jordy Smith, they usually go 2 1/2, 2 5/8, guys that weigh about 190 pounds. Shave the rails down a little bit. So we shaved the rails a little bit so it doesn't feel like it's got a big, thick, boggy rail. And we actually kept a little bit of thickness in the tail here. Brings me to the next little design that I think is really cool, is they sell these kick pads right here. Now if you notice, it's really small. This is a half pad. Most kick pads are about this big, so your foot can go anywhere from here to here to here. And the thing is when you're on a kick pad, you usually can't tell if you're here or here. But with this, if my foot is half on, I'm pretty far back, and if I'm all the way on, I'm way back. So it's kind of like a trainer to train you to get your back foot back. I would say a lot of people that are having problems with turns and cutbacks, you want to take a look at your back foot. But one thing to remember is when you move your back foot back, you got to move your front foot forward a little bit to counter that. If you only move the back foot back, you're going to feel like you're doing a wheelie the whole time. So it's almost like you have to give on both sides and develop a little bit wider stance. Other dimensions is we went about 12.5 in the nose, maybe a little bit more. So a foot down, 12.5. And the tail here, we went 15 1/4. It's a pretty wide tail. So this is the surfboard for here. And in another video, maybe we'll get some footage of how it surfs and get some of the other guys on it to give their input. The idea is, you know, you work with the shaper, you keep tweaking your surfboard until you get the magic stick, which is basically what the pros do. And then once you get a magic stick, you know your dimensions, you can keep reordering it, tweak it, small tweaks, and you can up your performance. One last thing to remember, this board is designed for a guy that's about 200 pounds in kind of medium waves here in Costa Rica. If you're more of a beginner intermediate, this might work really well for somebody who's 160 pounds, 170 pounds. You're going to get into waves really easy. It's going to make surfing a lot easier, but yet we're still keeping it just a 6'2". So I just wanted to share with you guys what I did to my board and my thought process. I've been working with the shaper for the last 3 boards, and I hope that helps you guys, you bigger guys out there, trying to figure out what kind of board you should ride. So make sure to subscribe, give us a thumbs up if you like these videos. We're going to keep putting out stuff like this, and next video.